Hey guys, Dave here from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with the crew.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And today we want to do player tips, combat tactics. Guys, this is one of the things that drives me nuts from being on the other side of the screen DM in the game. When you just see your players just do dumb shit all the time. And
like not sleep spell Sturgis.
Yeah, there's things like that. And so all right, look, if you're a new player, you just don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So one of the things, when it comes to combat is just knowing what your character can do.
Mm-hmm.
It is really important. 5e is a lot less tactical than previous editions of the game. But that being said, it just if you're there's a ton of optional rules if your dungeon master is using them. It behoves you to know that and which ones and how you can use them to greater effect.
They're talking about like shove and mark and things like that.
Yes, shove, mark, climbing on larger creatures.
Yes,
good things. All good things, But there's even simpler things. Like the thing that drives me the nuts the most is when your players choose to all attack different monsters.
Right.
So if they're fighting 4 orcs and there's 4 players and they want to go mano a mano with each one.
Well, that's the hero's way.
It is.
It might also be the dead hero's way.
But there I guess there's like the gamist part of it, which is like the mechanics and sound tactics and stuff like that. And then there's like the story and the role play part of it where let's go 1-on-1, but I'm a wizard. I mean, that wouldn't bother some of our players. We'll just disarm him and hit him with his own axe or something. But funny story there, let me tell you. So, but it makes more sense to try and eliminate a monster around or multiple monsters around because it means less attacks coming at you on their turn. So like that would be my number one tip, right? Eliminate as many monsters around as you can. So gang up on monsters and never be afraid. Like, oh my God, I'm going to waste some of my damage on this one because he's almost dead. But that almost dead monster could be the one that rolls a crit on you the next round and drops you.
Exactly.
So don't give him the chance. It's better to waste the damage than give him the opportunity to return the favor.
Part of me, I'm like I fall into in some situations like every gaming trope that's out there, every archetype, if you will. So like I not only try to know what I can do, but I try to be aware of what the other players at the table can do. And sometimes gamers, they want to hide their sheet, they don't want to know what people can do. But like just the other night where
those guys are such douchebags.
just the other night, we had a game going. It was Scott's game, and like people had said early in the night, oh well, I've got this skill at this kind of bonus, and later on, they were going to use that skill again, and they had to go back to their sheet. Well, I knew what their bonus was because they had said it, and I had stored it in my databanks. I'm like, oh yeah, it's 11. It's an 11. It's an 11, and he just wouldn't accept it. He had to look at his sheet, But I mean, it's like
the 10 has spoken. 11.
But it was a situation where in a combat situation, I want to know what the other players can do, so that if I can set up some kind of mechanical advantage for them, that I want to do so. The rogue, if you are a melee character, get sneak attack if you have an ally within 5 feet of you. So you want to make sure
within 5 foot of the enemy.
Sorry, within 5 foot of the enemy. So you want to make sure that you have that set up so that they're getting those sneak dice off, because that's the bulk of their combat advantage.
I would feel that some people may cry, oh well, then you're paying attention too much to the rules. But I think it only takes one fight to impress upon a fighter that the 3 guys that he fought are all dropped by an arrow to the heart, or a dagger to the kidneys or something. Or
forget the game mechanics for a second. Think about it. You're in a life and death situation with a group of people, right? Do you want to know what they can do and can't do? Do you want to know what use they're going to be to you or not be to you? I mean, like,
that's what I'm saying. The fighter's going to automatically see that in one combat, how useful and what type of thing the rogue can do. He doesn't need to know that on his character sheet. The players don't need to know in that sense to be able to see that happen in the game.
Well, that's true, but why wait till after the first combat to figure it out? Where you could go into the first combat knowing, like it depends.
Well, hey, if they're going to discuss that, that's fine.
So like that's the other thing. Like you might want to decide up front what kind of party do you have? Do you have the guys that are like, you can't know what I do or who I am? I'm mysterious, right? Or you're gonna have the party that's very cooperative and going, hey, okay, this is my capabilities, this is your capabilities, and you can kind of do it in a non-gamist way. You can role play it, but then you can be like, oh, and then out of game you can be like, well, this is what that means, you know. So if you have a wizard that has certain kinds of spells that he likes to use, like you should know. So this way, like you're not thunder waving your comrades into a cloud of daggers, because that is not a good combat tactic.
Yeah, that was a bad combat tactic.
For your
Even if
players.
you only hit 3 or 4 other people,
it's happened.
I know. And I'm
And
saying that with knowing.
then a player almost got stabbed in real life at the table.
So what I'm saying is all that can be figured out within like 1 or 2 combats of meeting each other, your capabilities. You don't have to try and figure out how to explain it role-playing wise, or...
Well, sometimes the direct path is the best path, though, because like you don't necessarily see everything that someone can do. Like they might not use a certain tactic or a certain trick that they have up their sleeve. I just think it's useful to share information.
Yeah, I'm saying not purposely withholding information, but I mean, like when you sneak attack, when you're doing 12 damage and it's more than the fighter does on average, and it's because you're standing next to him, stabbing this guy in the throat, and then you just move on to the next guy together. Okay, he's got sneak attack. That's why he can do extra damage.
All right, so
and that's the situation, the scenarios in which it happens. But I think going around and listen, like, okay, everybody, these are the things we can do. I don't like that. But I also don't like the like, no, we're only going to RP, and if you don't know what that means out of game, I'm never going to tell you the mechanics ever.
All right, well,
I'm not in favor of that, but I'm also not in favor of going down just like a grocery list of all of your abilities.
All right, so you've got your way, you've got your way. The point that I'm wanting to get out there.
Oh, we don't want to hear it.
Regardless of whether you figure it out through role playing or figure it out through combat, you need to pay attention, to what your fellow players are doing, so that you can use and exploit those abilities, regardless of which way you found it out. You need to, as Dave says, bring down targets as quickly as possible, so it's less damage being spread out amongst the players.
I agree. That is a good tactic. Another good tactic is using the low-level area effect spells when they're useful. Like sleep, grease, and things like that.
Sleep is going to work well on
color spray.
It's going to work well on anything that's under a CR1, or essentially having less than a hit die, like Sturges, kobolds, probably goblins, because they're going to have less hit points than the party, and therefore they're going to drop before the players do. So therefore, you don't have any fear of it actually affecting any of your fellow players, unless they happen to get the snot kicked out of them first.
There's other things too, like your environment. What's the environment to use that to your advantage? Is there a bottleneck that you can take advantage of, where you can put, you got 2 tanks, you can put them up front, they can block it up, and then you either have an archer or a spellcaster that can
range over top.
Yeah, range from the back. Can you do that? Is there cover? Can you hide behind trees and rocks and stuff like that? If there's an encounter that's going to come up, can you set up an ambush? Is there buff spells that you can
prepare ahead of time?
I mean, there's not as many as there used to be because of the concentration rules.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some things you can still do.
And spell casting, aside, there are other advantages that you can create, in an ambush or preparatory situation. Can you set up essentially some kind of mechanical trap, deadfall or something else, that once it actually lands, it then can become cover for you while you're trying to deal with what's left. So anything.
I prefer to set off a Deadpool if I can. Even if he doesn't kill them, he'll annoy the crap out of them.
Yeah, there's that. But I don't think we have the ability to unleash Deadpool on a whim.
That's not a spell yet.
I don't think so.
Dang.
If you spin a wish on it, perhaps.
Oh, you could totally wish that. What would you do if someone wished Deadpool in your game? Would you just
Cry.
know it?
I'd be like, you're now the DM, sir. I will see you guys later. And I'll watch the video later with popcorn.
I will pull out my Deadpool cosplay, and then what? You don't have one?
No, I don't.
Don't everybody have one? No, I don't really. I don't really cosplay as Deadpool or anyone else. Okay, combat tactics.
Wishing Deadpool into existence. That's a
combat tactic.
That's a combat tactic for Dave.
That'll definitely distract the enemy, I'm sure. He's very flamboyant. So my biggest thing, as I said, is just taking down enemies as fast as you can. Get less attacks on you next round. Do you guys have anything that is like your big?
I like positioning going into the combat. So your order of who's in front, who's in the back, just walking order. If you're going down a trail, or if you're going to be in a situation where you're in a group, in a crowd. And I'm going to say, well, like, hey, what's your marching order? Where are you guys in relationship to each other? So that kind of idea of protecting the people that are squishy and having people that have good perception be in the front and the back, that kind of thing. That's like walking around tactics.
So like preparation kind of.
Yeah, like before a fight,
Yeah.
How do you guys look? Are you organized? Is it just kind of, we're just walking down a trail and one of them's
Flying V, baby. Flying V all the way.
So I think Nate's suggestion about how you're positioned needs to carry over into the actual combat as well. I'm certain you can think back to your LARPing days, where you were always trying to protect the cleric, protect the ones that only have that 1 or 2 hit points.
So you don't have a shield or 2 and a sword, get in the back.
So it's a situation that that kind of thing really should carry over into combat, where if you, as you can say, bottleneck or position the things so that your squishy or squishiest character is less prone to being able to have attacks coming their way. I mean, I think that's best bet. Having access to your cleric, being able to get to everyone so that you're not too spread out is really useful, because cure wounds is going to give far more hit points than healing word. So if he can just reach out and touch you to cast the spell, it's going to be far better for the recipient.
So there's one other thing that we haven't touched on at all, and that's picking your targets. Not just the wounded target, but okay, if you're on a battlefield with 10 orcs and a spellcaster in the back, just like you want to protect your spellcaster, you want to get to theirs, and you want to eliminate, that kind of thing. Or maybe there's a ledge and they have archers on the ledge picking at you guys from cover, so you want to figure out how to take away that positioning. So that would be the other thing that off the top of my head I can think of, is picking your targets.
Yeah, if an enemy has gained some kind of advantage, you need to find a way to take that away, either by just straight up eliminating them or eliminating that advantage.
Yeah, sometimes that's when you need someone to misty step up to that ledge and wreak some havoc with the archers.
Yeah, if they're in a building, light the building on fire if you got to.
Well, that's one way of doing it.
That'll get them not shooting arrows and running for their life.
That's one chaotic evil way of doing it.
I didn't say a town orphanage, but there's archers in the town orphanage. Burn it to the ground.
At Philly
Tactical advantage.
At Philly Games Con, I got to play Dungeon World for the first time, and it's a very, very narrative game. You get to just insert lots of stuff that the DM just gives free control over. But we were attacking a goblin's lair, and there was a little tiny shack. It was 10 by 10 at best, and the fighter in the party totally just shoulder tackled the thing and knocked the building down on top of the goblins that were in it.
Did you just say he shoulder tackled the building?
He shoulder rammed it. So it was a crummy goblin building.
So you just shoved it over?
But he knocks it over.
A hut?
But it's a little building.
It would have to be a really little building. Have you ever tried to knock over a building?
Hey, I'm not saying I was the DM.
on its way out. It
I'm
didn't
not saying
pass
I was
any-
the DM.
No safety regulations.
But
like it was leaning already. Like
They held it together with spit.
I'm sorry,
That's
but
why.
what you said that he shoulder tackled the building, I just got in my head. I have this image of this like dilapidated like high rise, and the goblins are hiding, and he's like, boom, knock, and the
Well,
building comes down.
regardless, there was like an A-frame roof
Mhm.
that the DM described, and he says that it was, mostly intact. After the building went over. Well, the next room was essentially a bridge going through a ravine, and we're like, well, goblins are gonna definitely have the ability to be, on any kind of ledge or hidey holes out
And it's
there.
a bridge. There's got to be a troll under it.
So, it's like, well, if we just, deconstruct the A-frame and, carry it like a shield over top of us, they're not going to be able to rain death down on us. So we exploded it there. Then we carried it into the next room where we did see goblins, attacking from above. So we were able to put that over top of the hole, which led to another staircase. We exploited this one advantage like 3 or 4 times throughout.
That's hilarious.
throughout this session, and we kept going back to it. It's like, oh well, we can use it as a ladder to climb up, and
we can use it as a boat.
I can just imagine like they have to stop the adventure. What do you mean you guys are? We can't bring our roof with us. We're done.
Yeah,
it won't fit down the stairwell.
It's not collapsible. This isn't gonna work.
So
Go back to town.
we found this thing, and we decided, you know what, this is a tactical advantage for us. Let's just
using your environment.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have a DM that's willing to like go with kind of that stuff and have fun with it, why not?
Yeah. So if you know that it's like a thieves' den or something, or a goblin hangout, you knock on the door. If it's got a peephole or one of those slidey door things, knock on the door first, and you can kick it in when someone looks.
You don't want to eye poke them through the slidey thing.
Well, I mean, you could, but I like the idea of kicking a door and
when you
just fireball
through the people.
Oh yes, you just need line of sight.
Well, you got to put the dagger in front so they duck, because otherwise that fireball is going to go off really too close to you.
But the door's protected.
Yeah,
not if you hit the guy in the face that's in front of the door.
That's like 3/4 cover.
It'll be like a blast furnace shooting out of that.
It'll be like Cyclops.
Yeah.
Eye lasers.
You got duck and point up.
I think we covered this one. We're going to get more ridiculous and there's tons more.
That's
things.
I think part of the cool things about the tactics is sometimes the things are ridiculous. When you kick a flaming bed onto somebody, I mean, come on, you could totally do it, but it is kind of silly.
Why not?
I said you can totally do it.
Totally do it.
I'm just saying it's silly, just like the idea of launching a fireball.
Wait a minute. Why is it silly? What would you do if a flaming bed came at you?
I would be very upset and try not to get hit by it.
Right.
And then the person can shoot you with arrows while you're trying to avoid the flaming bed.
It's a great distraction or party trick, as the case may be.
So I say,
depends what you're
especially
into.
in 5th edition, doing things like that, you should definitely give the people advantage or give the other people a disadvantage based on the distraction tactics
right, or just inspiration for doing something cool.
Oh yeah,
inspiration.
I mean, yeah, then that can be something they use right then or something later.
Right.
Yeah, why not? So what do you guys think? Give us your best combat tactics. How can players be better in combat with what they have? You can put that in the comments below while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
You can patronize us in a good way by supporting our Patreon account. Even $1 will go a long way.
You can also join the conversation over on Reddit.
So until next time, stay nerdy.